got it, thank you. Hello.
When you hold a minute,
Sure.
there was a date change
Yeah.
and the list of the aldermen on one page, so everything's been correct.
Okay.
That's why I had to revise and I put it on everybody's list.
All right, great.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Flurry of paper off the minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I told her what to put in. Yes. So this is G1, did you amend the schedule that you had in here?
No.
Hey, Marge.
Hi, Andrea. Nice to meet you, Joe. All right.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm missing something. Oh.
Hi, Jim, it's Marge. It's 6:57, so I thought I'd call you for the committee of the whole.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. Listen, if all the dominoes fall, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
We need all the dominoes.
Right.
Hi, Robert.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. No.
Clerk Paul, can you call committee of the whole to order, please?
Lennon.
Here.
Roywood.
Here,
Leisha.
Here.
Fate.
Here.
Pabon. Ruiz.
Here.
Aranella.
Here.
Carmichael. Here. 7 present, Mayor.
Can we excuse Alderman Pabon?
Motion by Lennon, seconded by Ruiz to excuse Alderman Pabon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
aye.
The ayes have it. Okay, first on the agenda, we have 2 items, but first on the agenda is the Berwyn Development Corporation, Dave Hallsberg, an update on Project Homegrown. David?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just quick updates. Via email today, I sent you the commercial vacancy report for the first half of the year, and I provided you with a hard copy at your desk so that you can take a look at that. Be happy to come back at another time to discuss that if you'd like further conversation on that matter. More importantly, at this time, I'd like to just bring you up on Project Homegrown. This is a project that we have entertained to go up on Roosevelt Road at the corner of Clinton Ave and Roosevelt at what would be that southwest corner. The project is to create an incubator with 12 by 12 cottages that would inspire local artisans and maker spaces to locate at this and operate from the months of June to December on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. We're very pleased to report that at this point our site drawings are completed. I put a copy of that on your desk. And we've gone out to bid for site work and architecturals for the project, as well as the construction of the project itself. While we had hoped to go ahead and build all 12 of the sheds at this time, we will be unable to do that. We'll complete 10 of the 12 sheds, and we'll come back to look to get funding from others for the other 2. So both the Cook County has indicated some interest in funding us for those additional, as well as some local businesses.
I like the word cottages instead of sheds.
Okay.
That was a better word.
So that's just a simple update. So the project will commence in June of next year, but we'll be advertising it and looking for makers and artisans to take the cottage spaces.
Okay. Does everybody understand what he's referring to with this project? He did kind of introduce it to us before, so I think it's going to be a good project. Dave, the drawings that you showed us before, what city had that?
That would be Batavia, it's called the Batavia Boardwalk there.
Okay.
Our concept will be, rather than a boardwalk, we'll do it out of concrete. They went with lighter pastel colors, signifying more along a lake. Ours, we're going to go with a brighter hue component, more of, you would recognize, Mr. Mayor, as a Mexican theme.
Why, because that was just in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay, anybody, any questions for David? Okay,
When was the completion date?
It'll be opening in June of next year.
okay. Next on the agenda, we have the 2021 Pension Board, Pension Bond Presentation. Finance Director Ben Day shall lead it off. Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Guys, don't mind if I take my mask off? Could everybody hear me okay? Okay, tonight we will make a presentation with regard to the police and fire pension funding program. The overview of the presentation, we're going to cover the summary, our progress summary, our program overview, bond issuances, pension fund deposits, interest rate conditions, market interest rates, our pro forma debt service. Afterward, we'll provide a recommendation and walk you through the next steps of our recommendation. The city, since 2013, has made substantial progress on its pension funding. We started in 2013 with the police pension fund being at 45%, as well as the fire pension being at 27%. Our program has improved the funding levels dramatically, where the police pension fund is at 78% funded, fire pension at 61% funded. Now, this occurred as a result, the city back in 2013 faced two options. First, the city could fund the ARC, which is the actuarial recommended contribution, but that required an additional $4 million in tax levy. Or it could issue pension obligation bonds, spreading that cost of funding over 10 to 30 years. Now, the table below illustrates the differences in the two plans. First, the tax levy increase of $4 million. Well, how does that equate to I'm an average taxpayer? We took an average tax bill, and in 2014, that resulted in $300 in additional taxes to the taxpayer, where the pension bond plan resulted in $32 annually for the taxpayers. Now, over the years, those amounts have grown because of our covenants with the bond issue. It requires a $500,000 annual property tax levy. So up to 2021, the plan for the ARC required an additional $420, and the pension bond funding program amounts to $256. So
I think the focus on that is, under both plans, the first year amount increases. So, like in pension bonds, the first year was $32, the second year was 32 or 64. You can see that it increases, both plans increase, but that increased at kind of a level rate because of the capping at the $500,000.
So that, as a city went forward with the pension bond funding program, the result has been three additional pension bonds being, 3 additional fundings representing 3 bond issuances. In 2013, a $30 million deposit was made to the police and fire pension funds. In 2015, another $30 million was put into the 2 pension funds. And 2017, due to unfavorable market conditions, to see pause to obtain, in its pursuit of obtaining more favorable market interest rates. And that led to a $30 million deposit into both pension funds in 2019 with the securitization bonds. So $90 million has been deposited into the police and fire pension funds as a result of pension bonds being issued. We're now in a position where we should decide what the next funding is going to be. Do we continue the phased funding program? We're requiring $30 million in 2021, $30 million in 2023, and the additional amount due in 2025, or take advantage of market conditions in the bond markets and issue a little over $80 million in pension obligation bonds to fully fund both the police and fire pension funds. It's important to take note the difference in dollars between the $95 million and $80.5 million. That is due to the interest compounding of leaving a liability unfunded. The requirement is 6.75%, and that's where you see the difference of $14.5 million resulting in a savings with us fully funding the pensions now. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Dan, who will get into why this is an optimal time for the pension funding program, and I'd like to introduce Mike Manelli also from Barclays. Dan is our financial advisor. They'll give you some perspective as far as the market conditions.
And just to amplify what Ben just said, yes,
Before you get started, you should introduce yourself completely because we have a lot of new council members.
thank you very much. My name is Dan Denny's. I'm with Austin Meade Financial, and I've been working with the city since 2008 or 2009 on financial models and worked on the original 2013 program. And Mike?
My name is Mike Manelli. I'm with Barclays, and we also work with the city and Dan on the 2019 securitization transaction.
Before I flip this, just to understand is every year when you don't have funded pension, it automatically keeps growing the liability unless you fund it. So one of the key things that Ben was mentioning is we funded the whole pension liability as it stands today. We can make a deposit of $80 million. If we wait and fund it over the next 4 years, then we're going to have to make a payment of $95 million. And that's just a function of the fact that we would be leaving $60 million out there and that growing at 6.5. The beauty of compound interest, we always talk about how you can save money. Well, the beauty here is how you have to pay more money in the process. So I think that's a very key point to understand. And basically, we're not creating new debt. What we're doing is replacing. We're taking the pension fund unfunded liability and we're issuing bonds instead. So once that whole thing is funded, going forward, then the only thing we need to deal with is funding the debt service. We don't have to make those larger contributions to the pension plan anymore. So I guess, and Mike can jump in here too on things. I think here, first of all, the market is roaringly hot. And not, and the interest rates are substantially low. They've gone up a little right now, but I don't know what you've been following lately, but, there's talk of the, Goldman Sachs has announced that GDP will not grow as much. I mean, we're in kind of a weird time, but a weird time is a good time for you when borrowing money.
Yeah.
And I think, so that's one of the things, and you guys can get the market rates. I think, Mike, why don't you talk about we talk about Berwyn credit spreads and why that's critical.
Yes, Mike Manelli, again with Barclays. A couple of things that just to build on what Dan was talking about. So overall, benchmark interest rates, we saw them at very low levels before the pandemic. It popped up, and they have since gone back down to basically historically low levels. The other component, I think, of what the borrowing cost for Berwyn is the market's view of the credit. So what do things look like in Illinois? What do things look like in the Chicago area? And what do things look like for Berwyn specifically? And as, basically since March of 2020, as we've seen the overall bond market improve drastically, like I said, to kind of historically favorable levels, the market's view on credit as well has improved. And so Berwyn's, what we would call a credit premium, what you pay more than the U.S. Treasury pays to borrow, has compressed to levels that I believe are at historically low levels. And that's a couple things. One, just the bond market has a very large appetite for bonds. Two, the improvement in the state of Illinois' credit position. The state's finances have been on a positive trajectory, and that bleeds out through other localities. And I think the third thing that's important to recognize is the market's view on Berwyn specifically. Your credit position has improved. I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is, you are not alone dealing with pension issues, as you know, in Illinois specifically. But it's somewhat rare to see a municipality put together such a comprehensive and forward-looking plan as to how to tackle this issue and not kick the can down the road. And I think overall, the combination of those factors have really kind of come together to a pretty unique time for borrowers right now, where you're able to refinance a 6.75% debt that you have to the pension fund at levels around 4 to 5%. And I think just generally speaking, like I said, this is something a lot of our clients are looking at right now who have large pension obligations. There's kind of an opportunistic, there's a good opportunity to step in and use the capital markets to fund that today and pay down the liability over a more reasonable period of time for taxpayers.
And I want to amplify 2 points that Mike brought up. First of all, I kind of look at this as the pension fund is giving us seller financing to use, to pay them off, and their rate's 6.75. We can go to the market and, let's say, borrow between the 4 and 5% rate that we're kind of, and we're not trying to be very specific here. We want to wait till, we don't want to jinx, I don't want to jinx myself, if you know what I'm saying. But it's an interesting point is, it's like we don't want the pension fund's financing rate, we want ours. And what it does is, who's the benefactor of it? The benefactor is the taxpayers. Because you're going to pay, basically, to use your collective credit to pay things down. I think to also amplify the point about the Illinois credit spread, at one time, they were up like 101%, right? I mean, it was a and so get this in context. When we were doing bonds, when you were doing bonds, we had to pay, instead of 5%, we had to pay 6% because of the Illinois premium, versus a similarly rated credit in Pennsylvania or, I'm not sure about New Jersey, but, so, and it always was confounding, like, we have no control over what the state's finances are. But ironically, and I don't know if it's planned or dumb luck, but and I don't believe that's how other people look at, but their improvements helped a lot. So, and I put this interest rate into context, and that's the second major bullet point. We were happy to get this funded at 5 to 6% when we originally embarked on the plan. So again, the rates Mike was talking about at 4 to 5%. I mean, we would have killed to get that at the three preceding times. And so the question then back begets itself is, what do you think rates are going in the future? I mean, rates are pretty darn low right now, so I'm not sure if there's much more downside, unless you believe that we're going to be like Germany or Japan and have negative interest rates, which I just don't think happens because of the size of our, particularly the size of the debt of the federal government. But so the key thing to focus on is this is a real opportune time, and we didn't also talk about before the plan, but we have an agreement with pension plans, and we are due to give them another $30 million contribution. I think they're very happy about hearing the whole thing being done, so they're not really pushing us to do that. And so again, since we have to do something, the question is, how much do we do? And the last point is, we have debt bonds that are callable right now. And what I mean by that is we have the option to refinance them. And we could, they're like 4 to 5%, I think. And we could incorporate that into this plan to further make sure we hit the level numbers. So, who's taking this one here?
So the next chart to to take a look at is the proposed debt service as a result of issuing the pension obligation bonds, as well as doing some restructuring. It calls for, as the chart illustrates, it calls for a gradual, we call for a gradual increase in debt service from 12 to 17 million in the years 2021 through 2030. And then that dollar amount will flatten out to 17 million from 2031 through 2049 in our pension bond funding program, where we're repaying that debt. Now in 2050, as we'll talk about later, that leaves 17 million in debt service to the city after these pension bonds have been paid off. Again,
Paying off your mortgage.
Yeah.
Get this thing done in 2050 or sooner,
Yeah.
what'll happen is all of a sudden you have that $17 million to spend on more projects, which I think probably is gonna be a good factor. Now, we're gonna be here in 2030, but I'd hope to be, but maybe not. But I think that gives you and your future people flexibility to take on, you know, rebuilding of the city or whatever it is, and get this out of trust behind.
or of course, further funding our pensions in the future years. Our principal, I'm sorry, not our pension interest and normal and interest costs for our police and fire pension funds in the future.
But just that offensive, we're leaving in place the normal costs, what I call the 10 to 15% per year that we have to pay. So even at that point, we're not going to need that. I mean, that stays in place. So really, you're looking at, the sooner we get this paid off, the better. It's kind of like burning the water.
Correct. And again, it prevents the city from imposing additional property taxes to fully fund the pensions beyond the existing debt covenants that we are obligated to do so right now. So, you know, the multiple benefits. Next slide, we'll go over the benefits of going forward with the issuance of this proposed pension bond. You know, the city, it's less risk to the city for negative impacts perceived as a result of fully funding the pension. The profile, as illustrated in the previous slide, levels off to beginning in 2030, and very important, a major financial benefit is that 17 million in debt service being available to the city in 2050. We had mentioned some possibilities as far as where that can be directed toward to. The pension funding plan has the potential to lower the city's cost, perhaps qualifying the city for perhaps future refundings to take advantage of favorable market rates in the future. But most importantly, the city is able to rectify past mistakes of not funding the pensions properly in prior years before the pension bond started in 2013. You know, also, it prevents the city from being subject to state tax receipt sequestration due to not making the agreed upon pension fund payments. And correct me if I'm wrong, you know, we were subject to that prior to this program.
The way the law is written is when we talked about the traditional plan on the first page, that, you know, the $300 increase, that's what you had to fund under state law. Again, not to get too deep in the weeds, but we entered into an agreement with the pension fund saying, if you do this pension fund plan over time, would you agree not to intercept our money? As a practical matter, once you have the pension funds 100% funded, you have no risk whatsoever of them coming back at you to take over, you know, to sequester your money. And I think, Jimmy, that's a fair statement. So effectively what we've done is it becomes mute, it's an irrelevant concept. You know, in fact, when we show the first pages, you know, our alternative is somebody would say, if you didn't finish on the pension bonds, then that whole problem of that $300 or $400 increase comes right back at us. You know, and that's you know, we have to come up with $3 to $5 million if we don't follow the pension fund. And that's state law. We can't change that. And I think the pension funds, you know, are just going to agree saying, well, we'll accept you not making the required payment. candidly, they want to be 100% funded. You take a look at this, this is, you know, they're worried what you have to, you know, there's some, and again, this isn't Berwyn, but what happens if they're not funded? There's potential risk in the future that their pensions will be kept out.
The law was passed simply because many communities throughout the whole state of Illinois refused to fund the pensions properly. They took money from the pensions to pay other bills in their systems. They did not fund according to the actuary reports. That's why everybody's unfunded, and that's how this occurred before, decades before we were here. So
So just to say, we talk about that we had 2 plans. Well, no, we really didn't. We have one plan we have to live with. And so the ramifications, it's not like you opt, you know, say, well, we won't pass that $4 million. We'll kick the can down the road. The laws basically eliminated that option
Right.
in 2013 and 2016, whenever it came into effect. But again, I think the whole motivation when this plan was originally done in 2013, the people who were on the board, was to take a hard look at how to solve this problem. Okay, and to do it in a gradual, meaningful way. And there's been a lot of benefits. I mean, the actuaries sent the report over and said that the plans are benefited from the fact that we're more steadily funded. As Ben was alluded to at the beginning of 72 and 61, because we don't have to liquidate assets in order to make pension benefits. That might sound crazy, but you know, you want to get assets moving along. So I think that the key point is, you know, you're at a point where it makes sense to fix the plan.
all right, Ben, your recommendations?
So our recommendation is to prepare for a bond issuance, to issue these pension obligation bonds in 30 days. These bonds will accomplish 2 measures. The funding, fully funding the police and fire pensions, which will allow the city to take advantage of the historically low market interest rates. The other objective it will accomplish is, of course, we have some high principals that are due on our 2010, primarily our 2010 and 2011 bonds, that this issue will level out those projected high interest payments that are due in 2022 through 2030. The important thing that we have to emphasize here, we are not taking on new debt. This is, we are shifting the obligation of the unfunded liability and repositioning that to favorable market interest rates rather than incurring at 6.75%. So I just wanted to emphasize that. With that being said, we want to illustrate the next steps. Of course, the finance team, including Barclays and Stifel, are working on a credit rating update with S&P, and of course, evaluating the possibility of bond insurer participation. City Council will have a pension bond ordinance for approval, expected to be at the next council session on October 26th. The vote will be subject to finalize a $95 million bond structure, the elements, the police, primarily the police and fire pension bonds, restructuring of 2010 and 2011 bonds, and the possibility of bond insurance. Those are the elements that will be presented at the ordinance that will be presented at the next city council meeting. Barclays and Stifels are prepared to sell these bonds at the best possible terms for the city. With that being said, I'd like to open the floor to questions.
Questions?
So my question would be is, I understand this, we also have additional bonds out there, not just the police and fire pension bonds. Is it possible as we move forward to get that schedule of those bonds as well? Because this is a portion of our bonds, but we have others out there as well. And I think that when people look at the big picture, they look at, the total amount.
But I believe that the numbers they're showing you includes all our bonds.
Scott, we think this chart here shows everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
But we could give a breakdown so people look at it a little bit.
To see what each bond is?
Yeah, I would think that would be helpful.
Because so many of them have been refinanced over the years for different rates. So that rolls over into some of these. That's how we've been kind of doing it, so.
And that's fine.
We'll give a chart, we'll give you the numbers and a picture of it. I mean, the interesting interesting thing is our current bonds, in 2016, we restructured everything and got everything in good shape. They pretty much get paid off by 2035.
Okay.
So we're in really good shape. So we're basically wrapping this new pension bonds, both the ones, all three of the issues we've done so far, plus this one, around the existing bonds. But I think it's a very good question, and we could, give that a charge.
Great.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
the important thing to note is that people argue whether it's a soft debt or a hard debt. They're saying the bonds are a hard debt, the unfunded pension liability is a soft debt. I don't care what debt how you call it, soft or hard, it's a debt that we owe, that they haven't paid for years. And it incurs an interest rate higher than we do on the bonds. So in essence, we're saving ourselves money than just ignoring it. Because at some point, it's going to hit, and they're going to start taking our sales tax. There's no doubt about that. And then that's going to really hurt the city. So that's the important thing to note. We want to try and finish this off so that we can now sit back and we know what we had to realize for our bond payments every year. We'll have a steady source of what we have to pay, and it's going to make it a lot easier for us then for budgeting purposes and things of that nature, without hitting our taxpayers with large increases. Questions?
I had two of them.
First, regarding, just to put a little bit more into the conversation about what are these state mandates that are, kind of moving this along, just so a lot of the people at home and the new members understand that a lot of this is actually coming from the state directly, that we have to be at a certain percentage funding level.
Well, the state keeps on moving their date. However, the state did pass the legislation saying that the pension boards can sequester our retail sales tax if we're not funding the ARC. And the ARC is at a higher level because that includes the unfunded liability plus the regular pension amount. So what you see from the actuaries is called the ARC. That's the entire amount, throwing the unfunded in. And unfortunately, if we didn't have an agreement with our pension boards to hold off on that sequestration of our funds, they could be taking the sales tax right now.
That's correct.
It's just good practice, okay? I can't tell you why this liability, it started all of a sudden exploding again in 2007. I think there were some efforts to kind of squelch what the number was. But the fact of the matter is if you don't pay it, pay me now or pay me more later.
Right.
It wasn't a state law issue. So essentially, getting the whole thing funded, and by the way, the last 2 years, what's been our returns? 12 and 15%
Correct.
the last 2 years? So think about it a minute. That money that we borrowed back in 15 and before, that's really the incremental money. If we didn't do those borrowings, that money would have been there. So we borrowed, even though we borrowed at 6% or 5.75, whatever, 5.5, we earned 15% on it. Now, I don't want to sit here and say that's going to happen forever.
Well,
That's a bit.
And it's not us that earn it, it's the pension boards, but that also then helps us when we don't have to put as much money.
Looking at a different number, your IMRF fund was $2.5 million overfunded last year at the end of the year. And your pension expense in the audit, when I was trying to pull information together, should have been $1 million, but your net expense last year in 2020 was $200,000. Because that extra money, because it was there,
Right.
reduced your cost. And by the way, we show these numbers is slight benefits like this. If we could earn, 6 versus 4 or 5, whatever the rate is, that has, if you compound that out, it has a big benefit. And ultimately, it's going to be good. Like the mayor and I were at a convention, and remember that one at the Orland Park Fire District, they issued bonds in 2013 and funded the whole thing. They refinanced them, 2.2%. And they're expecting to have things paid off, 2 or 3 years left shorter than they originally planned. So that, the benefactor of that is the taxpayer, no matter how you cut it. And there's not going to be a state law change. So when there's talk about, funding this to 2050 at 80%, those are all bad. You might be proud of this. The rating agencies hate that. So follow the new state laws, and you're going to have, your credit's going to be downgraded, because they're not going to like what you did. So it only makes fiscal sense. And again, we're trying to make it affordable. So I don't know if you know that.
Yes, no, I would agree that the approach we're taking
Which we're taking is it's fiscally responsible.
is smart, that we're getting ahead of it, opposed to these other municipalities there.
kicking the can down the road for so long, then obviously they got themselves in big problems. Like, the city of Chicago has to increase tax rates, taxes on everybody. And I think for our taxpayers, this is probably going to be the best option in making sure that they're not paying for bigger amounts of having a larger burden on them. Another question that I often get is regarding our agreement with Barclays, regarding our sales tax. And I just wanted to clarify for everyone, for the viewers at home, and just for the council here too, that the portion of sales tax that they take from the city is not unlimited. The portion that they take is to pay the covenant or
It's restricted to the debt service that's owed.
Exactly, to the debt service, and then every single dollar that the city makes in sales revenue after that debt service is paid does come back to the city.
It comes back to the general.
Yeah, it comes back to our city. So, our sales revenue, our sales tax revenue plays a critical role in providing revenue to the city. And a lot of times, sometimes people got confused saying, oh, we gave all of our sales tax revenue to Barclays. And that's false. All of our funds are not going to our sales
And
tax.
we would have been paying a debt service on bonds or the pensions out of those sales tax anyway, so that's exactly what's happening. They're taking their pro rata share, the rest of it being remitted to the city almost immediately. So
That's correct.
Can
Exactly.
you amplify that if people have questions?
Yeah.
As part of that whole transaction, when we put it together, the city took back what's called the residual certificate, I think it's got a name, which requires that money come back to the city. So this whole concept that this money is being shipped off to England somewhere.
Yep.
No.
No. Is a misconception.
Yes. Yes.
All this was a financing technique that's been used by General Electric.
Yeah.
Name any Fortune 500 company, they do the same thing, with loan receivables and everything like that. So it's a good point.
Yes.
I wouldn't count it as somebody making the same comment.
Yes. And my last question or point would be just to the exact point that these are the common questions we get as elected officials, is that, regarding our total liability, is that a lot of people think that, our total liability of whatever it was, 290 or 300 million, was that a lot of people thinks that this is due tomorrow, or it's due next year's or 5 years, that this is a 30-year finance program that is, as it goes ongoing, it refinance to make sure that we're always looking out for a better interest rate. So just for the interest of the conversation of common questions that come up, that this is similar, I think somebody brought it up, it's similar to a mortgage. It's similar to these big corporations taking on debt, and it's about how we manage our debt.
But in addition to that, we're not extending the time period either. It's always been to 2049.
Right.
So we're not extending that. It's still going to be until 2049. It's not carrying it out further into the future.
Definitely.
So it's what we originally said.
Good point.
This picture here includes the Barclays, the Barclays trademark, the securitization debt. So this is it. We don't have to pay more than this. This whole
Right.
concept. And by the way, there are other types of bonds, which I'm going to bore you with, that takes all the money and then pays them off faster. But that's not what we've done here.
Right.
Somebody kicked that out, wasn't you guys? And it's just not an option. That misconception is really, you only have to pay debt service. You don't pay.
So does the council understand what we're doing here, especially the newer members? Because some of us have been through this for a while. But basically understanding, if you have questions that you can't ask right now, or you have to think about it, please ask those questions over the next couple of weeks so we can get you those answers.
Correct.
Okay? All right, thank you, gentlemen, ladies.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
I have nothing else for the open committee of the whole. March, yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring the council members, to bring their attention to the sheet that I passed out from Ruth Siaba Green, germane to G1. G1 is the upcoming city council calendar, and Ruth thankfully lays out the observation of Juneteenth in 2022. And so the calendar does not reflect the Juneteenth holiday. So I would recommend that you can refer it back to the clerk, and I'll bring this back at our next meeting for passage. Or you have a choice of also amending it on its face and just passing it tonight. It's up to you. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Leonard by Ruiz, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. See you back at 8 o'clock.
Hey, Jim, are you still there? I think it's called.
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yes, I am.
good.
I'm on mute.
Okay, that's good. For some
You
reason,
know, I've been on the whole time I was on mute.
good. I wondered because the screen on the phone kind of went dark, and I thought maybe you got cut off. Good to know.
No, I was on mute. I'm good.
All right, how about if I call you back in about 20 minutes?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Sometimes these builders are like, they try to push off and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll deal with that. Well, I guess here it is. You have to deal with it. So thank God it wasn't
I'm sorry, we submitted an ordinance up in a different
Yes,
chapter,
I
the
know.
damn thing.
Oh, right.
Last week was crazy.
Yes.
There were a lot of crazy things occurring Friday on packaging.
You took it off.
I appreciate your help.
Yeah, so I guess I won't have to worry about that. But yeah, I need to get new tires. I need a couple of new tires. Oh.
I was telling Tony Butch, I was like, a lot of crazy stuff happening on Friday. It just got, it was messed up. Yeah, you didn't slow us down much. Hi, Jamie, how are you? Good.
Didn't the council used to face out?
They did during the Michael Conrad era.
Oh.
And then when Bob was, he turned it back around. So for 4 years, that way.
I feel like I don't remember it ever facing in. Oh, well,
It does feel a little odd.
right, because I'm gonna be speaking and everybody's backs are gonna be to me.
Well, we all kind of turn.
Oh, got it. Right, is it a hospital meeting tonight?
So anyway, I don't lose that one. No, so there isn't very
Pardon?
Is this one the first fees were $10?
I'm pretty sure because I haven't done any research to see what 1121 ordinance reads, but probably. I mean, we can, I can do a history of it, but I'm,
Okay, that would be nice. I was just curious.
yeah. Thank you.
Guess who's coming up?
Yes. I'll probably be there because I'm on Zoom. Yes, great. I'll be there too.
Nope.
Hello.
Hey, Jim. We're about 3 minutes before the start.
All right. I'm here.
Okay. I'll do that.
Clerk Paul, can we call the council meeting to order, please?
Lennon,
Here?
Roywood,
Here.
Leisha,
Here.
Fate,
Here.
Pabon,
Here.
Ruiz,
Here.
Arenello,
Here.
Carmichael.
Here.
8 present, Mayor.
Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing? I pledge allegiance If we could please keep in our thoughts and prayers the men and women we have on the street tonight. Thank you. If anybody wishes to address the open forum, please step forward to the swinging gate, state your name and address. Jamie? Yeah, you could do it to speak.
Good evening, my name is Jamie Kucera, Kucera. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the YMCA in Berwyn. I'm here tonight to seek support from the City of Berwyn, as well as the aldermen and alderwomen in this room, for our upcoming event to celebrate Halloween. We will be hosting a family-friendly event, which we used to charge for, but we have decided that our community needs some free fun and entertainment, and here's where we need your support. We are looking for businesses, community leaders, organizations to distribute Halloween candy in a simple trick-or-treat system within our facility. We anticipate there to be 250 to 300 children that are in attendance. We're going to cap that off because we believe we can keep the flow throughout the building and really showcase our building to enhance membership also. I feel like there are so many people in our community that don't know the good work that we're doing and don't know the amazing facility that's located on 29th and Oak Park Avenue. So I'm here to invite each alderman, the mayor, city officials tonight to participate in this event. It's completely free to you with the exception that all I ask is that you provide goodies to distribute to trick-or-treating children. Enjoy the evening. You can promote your ward. You can promote the city in any way that you find to be fit. We just want to bring the community together. The Y has done so much over the last 18 months through the pandemic, and we want to be recognized within our community, and we want to show everybody that the Y, although we are still in massive recovery and rebuilding mode, we are here to support our community through the most difficult times. So I have for each of you here just a simple flyer. There is a QR code in the upper right-hand corner that will easily allow you to register to be a vendor for the event. If you would like to sign up and bring your family, there's a separate QR code down at the bottom. This is just an event to bring us together. We sit at 29th and Oak Park Avenue, and we need your support more than ever, and so do the families in our community. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Anybody else for open forum? Alderman, anything for open forum?
Yes, I'd like to just, I just want to say thank you to the 30-plus residents who attended the 6th Ward meeting last week at Lincoln Middle School, as well as all the presenters who came and spoke on special hot topics and concerns for the residents. So I want to give a special thank you out to Vaughn, our waste management representative, Bob Schiller, our Public Works Director, Commander Fellows, who gave a presentation on the camera discussion that we had a couple meetings ago, and that's up for discussion coming up again soon. It was well received by the residents. They had a lot of great questions about it. They had suggestions on different ideas they'd like the police department to explore. So I was really happy to hear those conversations and those suggestions made by residents. We had Deanna DeRica come out and talk about lead-based paint prevention. And we also had Joe Chirio to come out and talk about rat abatement, what his process is, how he works closely with the blight department on rodent infestation. And am I missing someone? I think that's everyone we had. So I just want to thank those individuals for their time. We went well over our allotted meeting time, and they were very generous to stay late. And I also want to remind everyone that my fall 6th Ward Fall Festival is this Saturday, October 16th, from 2 to 6 p.m. at Lincoln Middle School.
Okay. Anybody else, Alderman?
I have one thing.
Yes.
Beginning tomorrow, October 13, to Sunday, October 17, is National Police Week. On Friday, October 15, at 1 p.m. at St. Odilo Church, 2244 East Avenue, there will be a Blue Mass. The service, led by Father Yunser, will pay tribute to members of both the police and the fire departments. Berwyn's first responders invite the community, neighboring police and fire departments, and family and friends of both current and former responders to attend the commemorative service. Please attend if you can and show your support. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, item C1, please.
Item C1 is the regular committee of the whole meeting and regular meeting of September 28, 2021.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole and regular City Council meeting for September 28th.
Second.
Motion by Lennon, seconded by Fate to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting and the whole meeting of September 28, 2021. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item E1, please.
Item E1 is a request from Township Supervisor David Avila for pet parade.
Just a question real quick. Marge, maybe you can help us with this.
Mm-hmm.
I see where he has the barricades, but does he have an actual route? That's not spelled out in here. That's something we'd have to pass on to the police department and the public works for barricades.
This is all we received, Mayor. I don't have any other details.
Okay, all right, we'll have to figure that out.
All right. Be my motion to approve the first annual pet parade and the use of the city services.
Second.
Motion by Fate, seconded by Lennon, to approve the first annual pet parade for the Berwyn Public Health District and provide the city services. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item F1, please.
F1 is a communication from Mayor Lavero, the appointment of Joseph S. Fitzgerald to the Auxiliary Review Board.
I move that we concur with Mayor Lavero's recommendation to approve Joseph Fitzgerald to the Auxiliary Review Board.
Second.
Motion by Leisure, second by Fate, to concur with the recommendation and approve Joseph Fitzgerald as an appointment to the Auxiliary Review Board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item F2, please.
Item F2 is a communication from the mayor, appointment of Assistant Finance Director.
I will make a motion to concur with Mayor Lavero's appointment of Dana Hummel to Assistant Finance Director to fill a vacancy.
Second.
Who seconded? Motion by Lennon, seconded by Aaronella, to concur with the recommendation and appoint Dana Amal to the Assistant Finance Director to fill a vacancy. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Dana, could you step up and get sworn in, please?
Please raise your right hand. Did you have any qualifications? Please raise your hand. Do you, Dana Amal, having been appointed to the position of Assistant Finance Director for the City of Berwyn, do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, support the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and perform your duties as Assistant Finance Director for the City of Berwyn to the best of your abilities? Great, congratulations.
Better late than never, Dana. Sorry it took me so long. Item G1, please.
Item G1 is a communication from the clerk regarding the adoption of the 2022 regular meeting schedule.
I will make a motion to amend this communication to Germain G1 to add Juneteenth to it and send it on its way of passage.
Second.
Motion by Lennon, seconded by Ruiz to amend the schedule to add the Juneteenth holiday on Monday, June 20th, and City Hall closure on Tuesday, November 8th, and send it on its way to passage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item I1, please.
Item I1 is a communication from the Police and Fire Commission regarding the probationary police officer Nicholas Perino.
I move that we accept this message from the Police and Fire Commissioners as informational.
Second.
Motion by Leisure, seconded by Aaronella to consider informational. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item I2, please.
Item I2 is a communication from Alderman Ruiz regarding Sixth Ward Fall Festival.
I make a motion for your approval for city services at the Fall Festival event on Saturday, October 16th. Mayor, I was also wondering if, I don't see it as part of an option on our application, but if the city could be there as well, providing services, especially encouraging residents to sign up for the citizens alerts, that would be great. I know it's short notice, so if they're not available, that's fine, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
So send this to the police department to see if we can get them to send somebody out there for this.
Well,
sign up.
I can send everything to everybody, but I
Or,
was following the.
Claudia, are you able to do that? Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So that's my motion.
Second.
Motion by Ruiz, seconded by Aaronella, to approve the city services for the Sixth Ward Families Fall Festival and have the city participation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item J1, please.
Item J1 is a communication from City Attorney Bertucco with an ordinance amending section 484.05 of the codified ordinances to increase installation and renewal fees and to establish an application fee for reservation of street parking for persons with disabilities for the city of Berwyn, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
I had a question on this one, Mayor.
Yes.
How does this differ than the one that passed on April 27th?
Do you want me to answer? I can answer that. It's not different. It's exactly the same. So the question that came up was, there was a little bit of, as we all know, the history, the mayor vetoed it when it was at our last, not our last, but a council meeting in April. And he requested that the Public Works Committee re-review the fee increases because he felt that they were maybe too high. So in looking at them, if they're not, well, we re-reviewed them at our last Public Works Committee meeting, and the discussion was whether or not they were high. If you want to consider $5 and $10 increases high, I don't know how we could lower that. The fee schedule went from an application fee of being $10 to a $20 non-referable fee, so that's $10. The renewal fee went from $20 to $25, so that's a $5 increase. The last increase, which may be considered substantial, was the $10 installation fee of signs that are posted for every handicap sign. It cost the city $155 just for labor and materials for the installation of signs. That does not count the 4 departments and employees' hours that go into the processing of the application. So to kind of defer a little bit, or defer a little bit of the cost, we unanimously voted that we would have that installation fee go from $10 to $55. I know I had originally thought about having a process where we could have a sliding scale, but that's a whole nother project and a lot of other work that goes into that. As we all know, handicap signs do have a process, and we have an ordinance that's followed whether residents are eligible or not. And at the discretion of all aldermen, they can change that determination. And I'm sure that if any alderman here felt that any of their residents did not have the funds available, that they would work with the mayor and everyone else involved to either put that person on a payment plan or to remove that installation amount and, deal with each case at their discretion on a case-by-case basis. I don't think that we're going to strong-arm individual who truly can't afford that. I mean, I've had conversations with the mayor on water bills on working with families. We are not a city that strong-arms and straps our residents. So I can understand the concern about the increase of $10 to $55, but I honestly do not understand an increase of $5 and $10. And again, it's at every alderman's discretion whether they feel that fee should be applied or not at the time, depending on a resident's basis. So I hope that helps.
Sure. I just had like an actual process question. I went back and reviewed it, and there was a 5-3 vote on 27. On May 11th, there was a veto on the on the docket and you pulled it off. So I don't understand if we already passed it 5-3 on April 27th and then a veto didn't occur, why we're voting again on it now.
Well, it was sent back to committee, even though it was voted on, and I
Uh-huh.
did pull my veto. I did not veto it.
Right.
On the basis that the committee would reconsider and look at it again. After conversation with the committee chair, they have looked at it and they re-examined it, and they wanted to say more. So technically, the vote tonight would just be a reconfirmation of the vote from last time.
Okay, got it.
So my motion is to move forward with the ordinance and approve it and have the necessary signatures affixed and pass it on to passage.
Second.
Motion by Ruiz, seconded by Aaronella, to adopt the ordinance, affix the necessary signatures, and place on its way to passage. All those in favor on the call of the roll.
Lennon?
I originally voted no on this back in the first vote, but after reconsidering, having conversations with residents and also members of the committee, Public Works, I will be voting yes.
Roywood?
Aye.
Leisure?
Aye.
Fate?
Aye.
Pabon?
No.
Ruiz?
Aye.
Aaronella?
Aye.
Carmichael?
No.
6 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. Item J2, please.
Item J2 is a proclamation from Library Director Tammy Sheedy, a proclamation recognizing Friends of the Library Week. Whereas the Friends volunteer at special library events throughout the year, demonstrating their dedication to the library's mission with their welcoming nature. Whereas the Friends' gift of time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Robert J. Lavero, and the members of the Berwyn City Council proclaim October 17th through October 23rd, 2021, as Friends of the Library Week in Berwyn, Illinois, and urge everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make the library and community a better place.
I will make a motion to approve the proclamation as presented, affix the necessary signature, and send it on its way to passage.
Second.
Motion by Lennon, seconded by Fate, to approve the proclamation as presented, affix the necessary signatures, place on its way to passage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item J3, please.
Item J3 is a communication from Public Works Director Schiller regarding supplemental road salt appropriation.
I just wanted to get a little bit more clarification on why we need to go to a no-bid process. I know that you've been keeping us abreast of the salt situation, and I'm assuming because you're bringing this forward, we're moving into kind of a DEFCON 4 situation?
Well, what we've got is, we've got a lot of unknowns. Earlier this year, there was an occurrence at one of the salt mines in Louisiana that has permanently disabled the mine. That mine supplied about 35% of the entire nation's road salt. There's just so many unknowns as to the deliveries and everything else of the remaining suppliers, and the fact that all of the municipal bids throughout the state were all thrown out and rebid, and that bid didn't go out until late August. So the bid documents aren't even supposed to be back in and looked at until early November. We've had 6 inches of snow in October. I have some salt in the bin. I have about 1,000 tons in my bin, but that can go really quickly if you get a days-long extended snow period. On top of that fact, I don't know what the terms of the new bid document are going to be. Before, they were 7 days from time of order to delivery. If it goes to 14, I don't have a bin that's the size that I can withstand a sustained snow without being able to get a resupply of salt for 14 days. So for just the uncertainty of what's going on this year, I'm requesting that we have a supplemental salt supply and I was able to locate nearby with a 24 to 48 hour turnaround if we're in need of salt. If you feel that the 1,000 tons I've requested is too much, I can cut that. I want to make sure that we have the ability to clear the streets for our residents, for our first responders, during the winter season. And I just want to make sure that we have that ability.
Thank you. On that note, unless anyone else has any other questions regarding the matter, I'd like to make now I'm not in favor of no bid processes, but because of COVID and the short supply on many items, not just salt, and the occurrence that we had last year with the abundance of snowfall and having to clear lots of snow for our residents, including our alleys, I'd like to concur with the recommendation of Director Schiller for the approval of supplemental salt supply contract with Barge Terminal Trucking for up to 1,000 tons of road salt for $91.24 per ton.
Would you add to your motion waiving the sealed bid process?
Oh, and waive the seal bid process.
Second?
Motion by Ruiz, seconded by Lennon, to concur with the recommendation of Director Schiller, waive the sealed bid process, and enter into an agreement for supplemental salt with Barge Terminal Trucking for up to 1,000 tons of salt at $91.24 per ton. All those in favor on the call of the roll.
Lennon?
Aye.
Boywood?
Aye.
Leisure?
Aye.
Fate?
Aye.
Babone?
Aye.
Ruiz?
Aye.
Marinella?
Aye.
Carmichael?
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. Item J4, please.
Item J4 is a communication from Director Schiller regarding approval of the attached pay request number 1 to Pan Oceanic Engineering for Depot District Utilities.
I'd like to make a motion that we concur with Director Schiller's recommendation for the approval of pay request number 1 for $513,455.53 from the City of Berwyn IEPA water main loan.
Second.
Motion by Ruiz, seconded by Fate, to concur with the recommendation of Schiller and approve the pay request number 1 to Pan Oceanic Engineering for the Depot District Utilities in the amount of $513,455.53 from the City of Berwyn IEPA water main loan. All those in favor on the call of the roll.
Lennon?
Aye.
Boywood?
Aye.
Leisure?
Aye.
Fate?
Aye.
Pabon?
Aye.
Ruiz?
Aye.
Marinella?
Aye.
Carmichael?
Aye.
8 ayes, Mayor.
Motion carried. The consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Lennon, seconded by Leisure, to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Aldermanic committee meetings. Alderman Lennon.
Call it a chair.
Alderman Boywood.
Call the chair.
Alderman Leisure.
Call of the chair.
Alderman Fate.
Call the chair.
Alderman Pabon.
Right now, we're in the process of confirming a date for the first ad hoc rat abatement committee. We're looking at November 2nd, so more information to come.
Okay. Alderman Ruiz.
There will be a Public Works Committee meeting on Tuesday, October 26th at 5:30 p.m., hopefully in City Hall conference room.
Alderman Marinella.
Call it, Chair.
Alderman Carmichael.
Call the chair. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Carmichael, seconded by Pabon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
8:20.
Going where?
I always have trouble.
Bye, Jim.